But we have to begin tonight with some very serious breaking news. The FBI is investigating the hanging death of a U.S. Census worker. The Associated Press reporting tonight that, according to a law enforcement source, the word Fed, F-E-D, Fed, was scrawled on the victim's chest. Bill Sparkman, a 51-year-old part-time census field worker, also a single father who survived non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and held down 2 jobs while pursuing a teaching degree. This man was found on September 12th hanging from a tree in a remote part of the Daniel Boone National Forest, which is in rural southeastern Kentucky. This law enforcement source did not tell the Associated Press what was used to write the word Fed on the victim's body. According to a report from a local newspaper last week, President Obama's appointed census chief notified census employees about this killing, telling them their colleague was, quote, the victim of an apparent crime. Another executive at the Census Bureau told the Associated Press that law enforcement informed the agency that this was, quote, an apparent homicide. FBI spokesman David Byer today said that the Bureau is assisting Kentucky state troopers with their investigation into this case, saying, quote, our job is to determine if there was foul play involved, and that's part of the investigation, and if there was foul play involved, whether that is related to his employment as a census worker. Federal law enforcement's involvement may be involved here because it is a federal crime to attack a federal worker on the job or because of their job. Joining us now is Devlin Barrett, Justice Department correspondent with the Associated Press. Mr. Barrett, thanks very much for joining us.
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Good. Does what I've just summarized here comport with what you've been able to learn about the case so far? Or did I get anything wrong, or are there any new details?
No, that's a good description, and I guess what I would add to that is that what investigators found at the crime scene is obviously very disturbing, and what they're going through now is trying to figure out exactly what happened to this person.
From what we've read, it seems that the body was found on September 12th. A couple of weeks ago, there was some local reporting at the time into what was described locally as a mysterious case. Why are we hearing about it nationally now?
I think investigators have taken great pains, both at the Kentucky State Police and the FBI, to better understand exactly what happened. Obviously, the details, the few details we know at this point are very disturbing and could feed a larger political argument if this ends up being the result of anti-government sentiment. But they don't know that for absolute certain yet, and part of what the investigator's job is to rule out any other explanation for what happened.
And because the case has drawn the attention of federal law enforcement, because of the statement by the FBI spokesman today, that's, of course, the reason that this is at the top of a national newscast right now. We're all wondering if that should be taken as some indication that this was a crime related to anti-government sentiment. Are you able to report anything? Are you hearing anything about even circumstantial evidence in that regard? Is there any way to know, even whether federal and law enforcement getting involved is an indication that they think that might be true?
I don't think federal law enforcement would still be involved a week and a half after the body was found if there wasn't still that very serious concern. And they don't have all the answers yet, and some of the things they know they're not going to tell us because they're concerned there may be perpetrators out there that they would very much like to catch. But they don't know all these things for certain yet, and part of the process we're in now is proving all the other alternate explanations.
When officials are tight-lipped about such circumstances, one of the ways we figure out what's going on, even when they won't tell us, is by how agencies behave and how one part of the government advises another part of the government to behave. Has the Census Bureau stopped any operations or issued any warnings to its workers as a result of this death?
In the county where this death occurred, they have instructed their workers not to go door to door while this investigation continues. Clearly, there's a great deal of concern within the census worker community in that area, and they would very much like to know exactly what happened, but the investigators aren't really telling them a whole lot either right now. That's, again, part of the investigation that they're working on.
Devlin Barrett, Justice Department correspondent for the Associated Press. Mr. Barrett, thanks for taking the time to join us tonight. Appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
We will stay on this breaking news story as more details become available. Since it is just breaking federally or nationally tonight, further details may actually become available during the course of this hour. So please do stay with us.